Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the finance stream for the Finance Leadership Conference. We're moving on to a very interesting topic. Can I say it out loud that I didn't know such a thing existed? Human capital in the cloud. Does anybody know what that is? Okay, maybe I'm the only one who doesn't know what this is. I'm so excited to find out what this is about. Today we have Heinrich Swanepoel, who's the head of sales of PaySpace. We've got Debra Marais, who is the Group Chief Information Officer at Altron Limited. And we have Lauren Plooy, who's the Director of Ray and Associates. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome our panel for this session. Thank you.
Where do you want to go? You'll sit in the middle.
No. I'll sit on the side.
You don't want to get some water.
Sorry, Debra. My notes is not going to display, so I thought, let me just stand there a little bit because I'm going to read some of them.
Could be me.
Cool. Thank you so
Now
much.
that we have everyone's attention.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We will be talking about human capital in the cloud. It's not a foreign concept. And I'm going to take you through, I want to say, sort of 4 slides or 5 slides, and then we'll delve into a little bit of a panel discussion with 2 lovely ladies sitting here. I'm going to quickly introduce them myself as well. So firstly, I've got Debbie. She was appointed to the position of Altron Group Chief Information Officer on the 1st of January 2021. Debbie has over 20 years of experience in information technology, of which 14 has been spent at Altron. She joined the company in 2006 and grew through the ranks, assuming roles of increasing responsibility in integrated reporting systems, IT systems delivery, IT governance, and risk management. In 2019, Debbie was promoted as Group Shared Service Executive to establish global standardization and efficiencies in finance, real estate, HR operations, and group procurement functional areas. Before the promotion, she successfully led projects such as group migrations to Office 365, also in the cloud, implementation upgrades of field services and billing systems for STIA, implementation of D365 CE and F&O finance and operations, migration of large number of core systems and platforms to Azure. And this side I didn't know, but Altron was one of the first corporates to go live in production in the Azure DCs in South Africa.
With payroll.
So Debbie is a qualified CA, CISA, a Certified Information Systems Auditor as well, and holds a higher diploma in education. Welcome, Debbie. And then
It's a tough one to follow.
for my second guest, Lauren Plooy. Matt, you actually messed up her name tag. You forgot.
I'm just Plooy.
She's just Plooy on that, but it's the Plooy. She's been in the accounting industry for more than 14 years. They run a boutique accounting firm, Marais and Associates, that specializes in cloud technology with a specific focus on bookkeeping services and cloud systems, implementation and sales. She's extremely passionate about helping SMEs and owner-managed businesses so they can relieve their financial pressure and let them focus on their business. At the same time, they are utilizing the latest technologies and innovation. She is very client-focused and have a hands-on approach to all her projects. Some facts about Lauren: she devours books at an alarming rate, and she says her Kindle is her best friend. She has a crazy, loud and fun family, and she says thanks goodness because they all work together. She's a mom to a firecracker 11-year-old daughter, and also obsessed with animals and have a mini zoo at home. And have a sort of Dr. Dolittle vibe going around her. Welcome, Lauren.
Thank you.
So guys, like I said, I'm going to take you through, I want to say, sort of 4 slides, and then we'll delve into the panel discussion. So firstly, I want to start off by chatting about we now live in an always-on economy. And I think when we think about it, and the world's definitely accelerated in the last 2 or 3 years, quite extensively. And if I just take my own family, people can't even go to the loo without taking their phones with them anymore. And that's for me kind of weird because you're there for a specific thing. But something that, for me, that's been one of the biggest changes is sort of the focus. A lot of people tend to can focus in this new age of always on, etc. But what we've also seen is, I want to say, sort of technology can also be a part of that solution. It can help take away some of the problems that you might have. So I'm going to go into the 3 biggest challenges or headaches or bottlenecks we've seen in payroll and HR specifically. First one, keep your records in order. So there was a study done by Ernst & Young where they said the 2 biggest things that basically is messing up center of record is inaccurate data and regulatory changes. And that made up 60% of sort of issues that's in the payroll and HR office. Now that's quite significant, and luckily we've got our partner here today, Workday as well. I see them in the back. But a center of record and integration is critical to any business. And having one place of employee, we get to so many companies where the employees' files is different, what they've got on record to what they've got on payroll to what they've got on HR. And having the same record across is critical. So having a proper integration into either third-party software or in their own environment is critical to your business. So that for us is a big challenge, and we're trying to solve that through PaySpace. The next one is, I want to say, gone are the days of last week of the month rush. So I think we'll delve a little bit into our discussion, but because there's a lot of process governance that goes around, I want to say, doing payroll, doing HR-related activities. And we've seen that cloud can actually take away a lot of the laborious tasks that you sit with in the payroll and HR office. I don't know how many of you are actually doing payroll, but we still find companies doing backups and updates. And we recently did an interview with a gentleman from an accounting field, Marais van der Nest. He's from a company called Boshoff Visser and Vennote, it's BVSA. And he said, initially moving to the cloud seemed more expensive than a desktop application. They soon realized that the productivity of their payroll administrators improved 3-fold, and they were able to make more or to take on more customers with the same amount of colleagues. This was directly quoted by him. So it just shows sort of the automation that can happen if you're using the right technology. And then, second last slide is best kept secret. So we were standing, engaging with some of the people that came to our stand, and the guy said, how long have you been in business? Now, PaySpace has actually been around for the last 20 years. And we still kept, I want to say, sort of the best kept secret. And I think sort of, for me, it's been that cloud adoption only in the last 5 years has finally aligned in more companies and more organizations. Why it works? It's so weird having not a slide here. But anyway, why it works. So I've listed 4 companies of why it works. And these are actual stats that we got out of the clients. Now, I've mentioned BVSA. They saw a 66% saving in processing time. And I think it's quite phenomenal if you think sort of in the payroll world of what that actually means and taking on more clients. The next one, Cape Union Mart, a 4th generation business with over 300 stores, not only in South Africa, Botswana and Namibia. But for them, in retail, margins are small. And I think you need to be agile and quite consistent. So for them, they actually didn't have a big IT department, and they were tasked of going cloud. And we were able to save them 4 days of processing speed. Now, 4 days, and it's quite a number of people off their processing time. So it was a big, significant change of what they did. All these clients, by the way, has been clients that only came on board in the last 2 years. Coca-Cola, CCBA, also a big name. I think sort of most of you have had a Coke or a Coke Zero. For them, it was harmonizing their payroll across Africa, making the structures the same, the earnings, deductions, sort of the process. And we had them on our Power Conference about 2 months ago, and they said implementing PaySpace was the most successful project that they've done in CCBA in Africa. So it just alludes again to the fact that we can do certain things right, and hopefully that is payroll. So also big saving. And then the last one, Ackermans. I buy probably every month clothes for my kids there. But for them it was, they had a big drive in cloud adoption, and I want to say taking the old and going to the new. And eventually we saw what the saving was that we gave back to our client. And that equated to 1.2 million just in payroll costs that they saved on an annual basis. So without further ado, I'm going to jump to, I don't know what's the next slide. I'm going to jump into the panel discussion. And I'm going to start off with Debbie, or Debra. What do you prefer, Debbie?
Anyone.
Okay. I think sort of working in software, working in different companies. Altron, would you tell us a little bit about Altron in general?
Sure. So I guess the shortened JSE version of Altron Limited is that we're a technology services and solutions company. Pretty much working in two different areas. The first one is primarily IT services. So really, you guys have heard a lot of the digital transformation, and we really work the ambit of digital transformation all the way from network infrastructures right the way through to AI, IoT, and the like. So pretty much a large portion of our business is IT services. The other portion of our business is really, I guess, the piece where we build our own intellectual property, and really we're focused there in three segments in South Africa: safety and security, healthcare, and financial services. And then we're really about building digital platforms, digital ecosystems to enhance the lives of citizens in South Africa. So I was kind of thinking, since this is an HC discussion, what is Altron? It's what gets us up in the morning, right? And for us, that's being able to get into work, find a problem, get the tech that's there to help us add the value. So for us, it's about the innovation that can enhance people's lives. That's what Altron's about.
Super. And then just diving a little bit into that, what were some of the challenges? Because there's quite a big spectrum of people that you need to keep happy and sort of motivate. But what were some of the challenges that you faced in your business before implementing PaySpace?
Sure. So I think we've been on a journey of the cloud for about 5 years. I think we started really, our journey came from a ROI. Okay, let's face it, at the end of the day, you've got to sell your business case to a finance person. I was properly trained as a CA, so if anyone asks me, is it cheaper in the cloud, I go, what would you like the answer to be? And really, I guess it depends on how you view your total cost of ownership. But for us, we'd come to the end of a journey where our on-premise servers had died. They were at end of life, and we either had to go and do a massive capex, or for us, products like Office 365 had just landed. And so we decided, well, here's the opportunity. We were kind of also as an IT services company saying, hey, if we're not prepared to lead, how can we tell our customers this is something good? So let's learn the hard way on behalf of our customers, and let's figure this out as we go. So we started with the journey to cloud, and in that started to understand, hang on, this changes the world in terms of what we do. So for us, cloud changed our focus in technology away from worrying about infrastructure into really starting to focus in on the business process. And what it did, ironically, was actually increase the divide. So we realized there was really a big gap. Suddenly, these things that we were worrying about, the servers and the systems on the servers that we had full control over, stuff went into the cloud. And all of a sudden, 60% of our work was now outsourced to a third party. We had to learn how to do third-party management. And then we were kind of like, okay, what do we do with the business process now? Who really owns this business process? And what ended up happening was the cloud has brought the business product closer to the business user. So you might say, well, what does that have to do with human capital? This was really where the payroll started to change. So in the past, we were kind of like everything was done in a back. We closed up our payroll department. We had our servers there, sure, because, this was hardcore employee data. Yeah. So we were going to keep it safer by keeping it, hidden away, driving it out and just giving you your pay slip and, your RP5, and that was about as much as you needed to, go through kind of 7 gates to get anything else out of us from a data perspective. But cloud changed the way that we looked at our business, and we realized, hang on, the technologies are going closer to the user. Our people that we were employing were demanding to get more information about themselves. That meant we were having to answer questions far quicker. So what was happening was our payroll environment was starting to become much more complex. We were starting to onboard people And we were starting to churn people a lot quicker because tech really took off. And all of a sudden, and I'm sure many of you have this, we ended with the critical skills gap. And so we ended up having to onboard, offboard, move people very fast and keep the compliance and the records intact. And so we were debating, what's the right way? How do we be agile with payroll? And we kind of started our first journey with, let's put it in the cloud so we can get rid of the IT part to start focusing on the business part. And we also then really focused on implementing a human capital management system to go along with it in the cloud, which is really where our journey with Workday started. And then we kind of looked at the payroll part of it and making sure that the payroll would integrate. What we found is our payroll was now not working quite as fast or as well as our human capital management system, and they weren't talking to each other very quickly and very easy. And that really is what brought about the payroll, the PaySpace engagement of, we were looking specifically at something that had a validated, integrated solution between our human capital system and our payroll system. And we specifically had open APIs, processes like that from a tech perspective to say, this has to happen very fast. Heinrich mentioned there's no such thing as that month end anymore. Sure, guys, overtime, allowances, employee value proposition, right? I think we've got 140 different types of ways we can remunerate someone in our group, in order to be able to allow people to work from anywhere in the world, part-time, full-time. We're in the world of tech, and our techies love South Africa, but sometimes they live in Australia. And how do we allow that environment, which required an agility and a flexibility in both our human capital system and our payroll system to be able to work in tandem? So we started those engagements with PaySpace. We were still a little bit nervous because we had it insourced, and we were like, no, this is still our holy grail. We want to hold on to it. And then Papaya happened. And all of a sudden we were like, ish, we need to give our employee as much comfort that we are keeping their records safe as any other piece of record. And suddenly we realized we needed to partner with a person that understood keeping that employee record safe, keeping that process properly governed, being able to withdraw, delete, those records should our employee ask for them, being able to go back in history, forward. And so that kind of is really what started our payroll journey. We realized we're not payroll specialists. It's not the core of what we do. We're not human capital technology specialists. It's not the core of what we do. We need to partner in an ecosystem with people that do this as their day job, because our focus is our people and how do we enhance the lives of our people and obviously make them, when they come to work, want to give of their best. But the systems, instead of being focused on becoming professionals at payroll, we became professionals at our human capital teams, and we looked for a partner that could really work with us on that.
Awesome. And I didn't show Debbie the slide, so that center of record, I promise you, and it loops back to that sort of having one record of the employee. And I can't sort of say too much. We see so many times where we're asking HR and payroll practitioners to actually tell us what the headcount is in the HR system, what the headcount is in the payroll system, and it differs. And it's nice that you actually alluded to the speed factor as well, because I think sort of employees are so used to Uber and Uber Eats and anything that's on your phone you can quickly access. But yeah, and Lauren, just for you, in case of your customers, what are some of the drivers that made you digitize some of the customers that you see?
So I loved your slide that spoke about time saving. So when we're dealing, so we mostly deal with owner-managed SMEs, and it's all about time saving when we're speaking to clients. So the stats that we talk about are very close to yours. So we say between 64 and 65% of time back. And I mean, I would love 60% of my time back of my day. And that's what you're giving when you're starting to implement cloud. All these systems are automated. We love what we're seeing now is that as an accounting firm, we have an outsourced payroll department. And a lot of the clients that we deal with, we were very hesitant to hand over for them to do their own payroll, right? Not everybody should be running payroll. But what we found with systems like PaySpace is that because things are automated, because the setup's done beforehand, you can now start really empowering business owners to have more control over the tech in their business, more control over the cloud. They don't have to always outsource these kind of services, and really upskill somebody within their organization to run it. So it was something that we're very passionate about, is upskilling and just empowering business owners, and also for them to have this kind of information at their fingertips. But the best thing that really drives us with PaySpace, I know it might sound so silly, but if anybody here is in HR, I'd love to know how many times you have been asked for a copy of a payslip this year. How many times? Like, honestly, it was the biggest question we were always getting in our payroll department. And I love the employee self-service. It is a game changer for us. I love the Payse. I love that staff can get their payslips via WhatsApp. Like, for me, it's just so innovative. And our clients get really excited when we show them the system. So we know that if it's been set up correctly, it's so easy for them to just hit the ground running. It's a really ease of use kind of system for them to be implementing in any size business because it's so scalable. Yeah.
So maybe just going off the cuff there, like you said, the saving of time.
Yeah.
You guys have actually transitioned quite big now, moving from in-house to an outsourcing payroll. And have you seen sort of a time saving or any other sort of saving based on moving payroll?
So it depends on which department you speak to, right? So as part of the, this is where we be very honest, right?
Yes,
Okay, so finance have seen a time saving, IT have seen a time saving, HR not so much yet. And I think it's really, and again, this really goes to, when you, software as a service brings the system closer to the HC department, brings the system closer to the finance department. Don't underestimate what that change is going to do within your department. It's something, almost like, oh, the system was over there. Now the system is what you do your day job with. And that transition can take more time as you actually move forward. That was the first transition. The second transition was a transition of in-source to outsource. It was the good decision from a governance perspective, okay? I think we underestimated how much was being done through a phone call or an email to our in-sourced department. Oh, please just change this. Oh, please just add this. Oh, please just do that, right? That, therefore, from a human capital perspective, is quick, right? Pick up the phone, something's changed. From a governance, sustainability, record, automation, and auditors, when they come and audit your payroll, they don't really like that. That you get the cost. But from the human capital department, this is part of the transition. The real change transition that we're having to go through is actually, the stuff goes through a process for a reason. I think we hadn't realized we'd been 40 years with an in-sourced payroll department. We'd got quite good at bypassing controls, to answer our users at 9 o'clock on a Sunday night, and payroll was due on Monday morning at 6 o'clock. So, like I say, depending on honestly who you speak to right now, are we getting there? Absolutely. Are our human capital teams starting to move into that zone? Absolutely, but don't underestimate the change. So, across the board, I'd say if we added it all up, yes. If we speak just to human capital, I have no doubt in my mind they'll say to you it's taking more time.
But it's good, and I think it's like anything. If I changed my wife from iPhone today and gave her an Android, she'll probably kill me. But so it is a change in any system, and there's never a good time to switch. Maybe back to Lauren, sort of, what were some of the lessons learned in implementing software or PaySpace or payroll?
I mean, I don't know if they're so negative. I think we've had an incredible journey. So we've been a digital practice for more than 6 years. We've been paperless for 5 years, literally not even printed. We have an intern that wants to come spend the afternoon in our office, and she's like, I'll even do filing. And I'm like, we don't even have paper, no files, no cupboards. So I think the lessons that we've learned is we really didn't do things slowly. So we made the decision to go digital and moved our whole practice digital within 3 months. So we didn't slowly scale it. But I think the lesson is to make sure that you know what you're getting into, do your research, make sure that your staff are really well trained. There's always going to be hesitations to change within an organization. And we made sure that if staff knew what they were getting, they were part of the decision making, and they were really trained and empowered in the system that they were going to be running, they felt positive about. So for me, it's always about collaboration with your team. You want to speak to them about what their pain points are, make sure that the software you're implementing is going to address those pain points. And just when you're making a decision about the software that you want to partner with, there were very specific reasons that we wanted to partner with PaySpace. Make sure that you do your research, ask the right questions, have 100 demos if you want to, ask them whatever you want to do. You want to see systems, you want to see the processing. Just make sure that you're asking the right questions and that you're doing it with your team if there is a team running it. So I think definitely training, definitely making sure that people are going to be comfortable with tech. So having the right conversations with your staff and what they're concerned about. Making sure that you have a backup for load shedding. So it was a big thing for us. We're a digital practice. So with everything going down for a couple of hours a day, thank goodness we have a generator. And then we set up 2 hot desks for our clients that didn't have power so that they could come and utilize it with us. So just make sure that there's a good backup. I think it's been the most amazing journey. So we've learned a lot along the way, but it's been really exciting. I love innovation. I love tech. I think that's the way the world's moving. And I love how excited our team get about it as well. So, good lessons.
And it's interesting, I think sort of both of you alluded to a little bit of governance processes, etc. But from a security point of view, I don't know who's attended the security session. I think it was 2 before us. But that's something we also get quite often, is when people come and say we're moving cloud. How do we know our data is actually encrypted? How do we know our data is safe? Debbie, maybe did you guys investigate us? Because that's quite a big shift, taking everything to the cloud.
Can I quickly say something? Because I know you're going to have the most amazing explanation. But I often say to clients, we don't even realize how much we're already using in the cloud.
Yeah.
So we have, we've got lots of old school clients that have been with us for many years. And they're like, I don't want to, link my bank to my accounting software. And I'm like, but you use internet banking anyway. So I think sometimes we just don't realize how much we're using in the cloud. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I think, one of the biggest lessons for us, just to kind of go into the side is, number one, you got to be all in. Okay. You cannot be half pregnant with a cloud journey. You need to, honestly, it's going to cost you 6 times more. And you have to say, this is now me, this is how we run, because then you can commit your resources, your time, and your attention into that journey. If you're kind of like you've got 2 journeys, well, your attention is divided, and so stuff will then fall through the cracks. And I think this is what a lot of people, the part we kind of, let's say, got wrong right in the beginning is we kind of tried to do both. Have a foot in both worlds, not a good idea. Commit to the one. On the cyber Yasha, we put PaySpace through the ringer, guys. Like we do black box pen testing on them quite regularly. So I think for us, remember, as a corporate, we're still accountable for our security. So we make no excuse whatsoever to say you become a part of our ecosystem, and you need to tell us, you need to show us, you need to, give us what you are, what your security protocols, your processes, your everything are. The interesting part is because of who PaySpace are, because of software as a service vendors and who they are, they have security teams. And they therefore are able to take your security team is able to work with their security team regularly. And if you're all in, these guys are having regular conversations, regular checks and balances, regular processes. To your point, like honestly, the easiest service to hack, let's face it, like if you really want to hack something, just sit outside someone's house. Okay, you'll be in their payroll in no time. So, right? Because most people's Wi-Fi at their house and stuff like that is the gateway in now, right? There's an illusion. We used to build security saying there's the moat, and when we come into the moat, we're safe because we're all in the moat. Guys, the moat has long gone. Yeah. We live in a world, an always-on world, an always-everywhere world. You're sitting in Mug and Bean doing a Zoom call or a Teams call. Your competitor is sitting right behind you. The best for me is that, I always probably shouldn't do this, but I'm very security aware. So I often sit and listen to how many conversations I can pick up in my own complex. Because you don't realize how loud you're speaking and the people speaking. It's like, okay. So the moat is gone. The moat is gone. And the important thing now is, can you trace your record? Can you authenticate your user? And this is where, for example, we spent a lot of time with PaySpace is really saying who can get into PaySpace, how do our people get into PaySpace, and we used our own authentication. See, this is where, for me, going into cloud, open APIs, partners that are prepared to work within your ecosystem your way, and you don't have to give that up. You know, yes, they're the specialist in the payroll process, but you're the specialist in your company. And, you know, for me, the Active Directory, the authentication, the single sign-ons, the multi-factors, all of that is in place. So my employee is accessing his payroll using, quite frankly, my security. Okay? Then, on top of that, we get the audits done. You know, it's a lot easier to pick up a phone and say, hey, you know, I need an external audit done. Show me that you're safe. You know, show me your controls, show me your processes. This is their bread and butter. And so I think, you know, it's more about we feel safer when we can touch and feel it. Okay? Our children don't, right? They're like quite safe in a world of intangible. And I think once you transition to intangible, you realize it's quite safe. But you've got to be able to trace the record. And I think that was the big transition we made on the safety is connected to you as an employee. The safety is connected to your data. That's actually why I love Papaya, because it reminds us that it's about the person. It reminds us it's about the trail of the person the whole way through. You follow we say follow the money, right? Yeah. Follow the employee identity, and you'll get to the holy grail of that employee. So I think, you know, for me, partner with people that are prepared to adopt your own security practices, and do not feel afraid to put them through the ringer. I mean, these guys get audited by us, checked by us, pen tested by us, and they smile sweetly and, you know, take it.
Thank you. I'm definitely changing my Wi-Fi password.
Yeah, me too.
I think we've got 1 minute or 2 minutes left. Is there maybe questions, guys, for the delegates, for myself? Love it. Super. No, thank you so much.
Oh.
Very quick question, because we just chatted about the security issues.
Yes.
Now, how easy for the payroll software to identify potential fraudulent person's IP address to manipulate data?
So very good question. I think there's constantly ways. There's two sides to this. There's the employees themselves that works at PaySpace, and then there's the end users or the customers that's actually using the software. So for our internal team, we're constantly monitoring, doing security checks, seeing where they're supporting clients, etc. But from a client or a user base, we've put things in place like audit control, like the multi-factor authentication, making sure that whoever logs into the system, when they're logging in, they're doing the correct things. We recently introduced, is it DLP?
Yes, data loss protection.
Yeah, I just know the word being thrown about. But if they're accessing specific records that they're not allowed to access, so then we'll get a notification. But something as simple as, say for instance, Lauren was doing our business as payroll, and she changed bank account details on my behalf, on my bank. I'll get an email notifying me that my bank details has changed. Now that's tricks we've put in that automates a lot of the, fraud that can happen inside payroll. So we try to think clever of ways that we can actually, help customers with those things. So I hope it helps.
Thank you. As I said right at the beginning of the session, I did not know what human capital in the cloud was, but actually when you guys explained it, I realized I know what it is. I just didn't have a name for it. So thank you so much to our panel that succinctly explained what human capital in the cloud is. Heinrich, thank you from PaySpace. Thank you for sponsoring the event. Debbie and Lauren, thank you so much for joining us today. One last round of applause. We are now just breaking off for just a few network break, and we will be back at 20 to 3 for our final session. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.